Welcome. This is TVRI's Evening News, bringing you the latest reports and information from throughout the world. I'm Tiya Mariadi.
And I'm Achmad Setianto. Reports on the Indonesian government make up today's top stories. And in the ASEAN window segment, we have reports from Singapore and Malaysia. These are the headlines.
After meeting with security officials, President Abdurrahman Wahid concludes that Jakarta remains under control. Israeli-Palestinian peace talks ends on an upbeat note, but no agreement. In the US, a chartered plane crashes near Denver, killing all 10 on board.
You are watching the evening news.
Those were the headlines, and now we go over to Tiya Mariadi for our first report. Tiya?
Thank you, Anto. President Abdurrahman Wahid held a meeting today with Vice President Megawati Soekarno Putri and security officials and concluded that Jakarta remains under control. The meeting was in response to rumors that thousands will flock to Jakarta tomorrow. On Monday, the Special Committee on the Bullock Gate and Brunei Gate will submit their report to the leaders of the House of Representatives, and on February the 1st, the House will issue a statement on the results of the committee's work. Present at today's meeting were the Coordinating Minister of Social Political Affairs, Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono, the Army Chief of Staff, Endriartono Sutarto, the Head of the Police, Bimantoro, and the Head of the National Intelligence Coordinating Board, Ari Kumaat. The President said that he had received reports that 50,000 people would enter Jakarta from East, Central and West Java and 35,000 from Banten. The President added that he told Saifullah Yusuf, head of his Ansor Youth Movement supporters, that security may not be the problem, but more pressing would be how to feed the 85,000 people should they come to the capital.
The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Akbar Tanjung, said that the formulation of the findings of the Special Committee on the Bullock scam that will be put forward tomorrow must be highly objective. The Speaker of the House, Akbar Tanjung, speaking after a gathering with the local administration, people's representatives, Sultan Pakubuwono XII, and community figures of the Surakarta Solo region, said that despite differences in political interests, the objectivity of the committee's conclusions must be unquestionable. Differences of interpretation may occur in politics, but the formal and material truth in determining whether a violation of the law occurred can be assured objectively by the court. The Speaker of the House also predicted that January 29th will determine whether a special session will be held or not. At the same gathering, Sultan Pakubuwono XII, commenting on heightened political tension, urged political leaders to not make the situation worse and then only to lead to national instability.
The chairman of the Indonesian Democratic Party, Budi Harjono, said that the House's Special Committee on the Bullock Gate and Brunei Gate scandal has no right to pass judgment on the president, since the functions of the House only relate to political and control aspects.
During the commemoration of the 28th anniversary of the party today, Budi Harjono admitted that the activities of the Special Committee were necessary in terms of supervising the government. Although the committee had sought clarification on whether the president is involved or not in the Bullock and Brunei scam, its function was not necessarily to dismiss the president. The committee's job should be seen as doing the House's duty of carrying out the mandate of the MPR's decree to eradicate corruption, collusion and nepotism. Meanwhile, the former chairman of the Indonesian Democratic Party, Suryadi, said that the problems currently faced by political leadership are due to the lack of statesmanship, and their resolution relies heavily on political weight. In his speech, the chairman of the Indonesian Democratic Party, Budi Harjono, hoped that the political elite would instead reduce their squabbling and be able to mobilize the grassroots and encourage everyone to work harder for the benefit of the nation.
You are watching the evening news.
Israeli-Palestinian peace talks ended with an upset tone but no agreement on Saturday, leaving further peace talks to a possible meeting between Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak and Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat. The two sides said in a joint statement that the six-day talks in the Red Sea resort of Taba were unprecedented in their positive atmosphere, had left them closer than ever to an agreement. The Israelis and the Palestinians also pledged to return to normal and avoid further violence. Israel's Foreign Minister Shlomo Ben Ami refused to give details, but maintained the sides were very close to a final peace settlement and that success was highly likely if talks resumed after Israel's February 6 election. Another Israeli negotiator said an agreement could be reached in 2 to 3 weeks, but Palestinians dismissed such claims, with one official calling the electioneering. The two sides appear deadlocked on the return of Palestinian refugees. The refugee issue was discussed on Friday in Taba and at informal meetings in the nearby Israeli resort of Eilat on Saturday. Israel adamantly rejects the demand that refugees and their descendants, some 4 million people, be given the right to return to Israel, which has some 5 million Jews and 1 million Arab citizens.
Two Palestinian guerrillas have been found dead in South Lebanon a day after Israel had said it had shelled the area to prevent a group of people from infiltrating its territory. The Lebanese sources said the two were members of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine General Command, PFLP-GC, a Syrian-based radical Palestinian group opposed to making peace deal with Israel. The PFLP-GC confirmed that two of its guerrillas had been killed in Friday's shelling and said that one more fighter had been wounded and a Lebanese civilian was also hurt. The guerrillas' bodies were found near the Shebaz Farms, a disputed strip which lies at the foothills of the Golan Heights, which Israel seized from Syria in a 1976 Middle East war. The PFLP-GC statement did not name the casualties, but the sources identified one of the dead guerrillas as Mohammed Jaber Abu Mandil, 20, and said he was carrying an expulsion order from Syria dated January 2001. In Jerusalem, the Israeli army said it had used tanks and helicopters on Friday to thwart an attempt by a terrorist unit to penetrate into Israel and carry out attacks there. On Friday, the army said it had fired at several suspicious figures who crossed the international border from Lebanese territory into Israeli territory.
Chile's former dictator, Augusto Pinochet, flew out of the capital's military hospital by helicopter, discharged one day after his doctors warned of a stroke risk. Witnesses at the military clinic said a helicopter carrying the white-haired grandfather took off from the roof of the military clinic in downtown Santiago on Saturday, probably headed for his coastal estate in Bucalemu, about 80 miles southwest of the capital. Pinochet, battling to avoid trial for alleged human rights abuses in his 1973-1990 rule, was rushed to the hospital on Friday after complaining of headaches. The hospital said in a communique that the medical team of Pinochet advised the retired general that he could continue any treatment and recovery at home. Opponents of the retired general claimed his stay in the Santiago military hospital was a ploy to exaggerate his frail health to convince Chile's legal system that he is unfit to face trial for alleged torture and kidnap in his 17-year rule. Judge Juan Guzman, who is investigating more than 200 cases of Pinochet-era abuses when more than 3,000 people died or disappeared, is set to decide within days if the former commander-in-chief of the army should be arrested and charged.
Peru's former president Alan Garcia has returned to Lima after years of exile in Colombia to launch an audacious bid for high office.
Showered in confetti, a beaming ex-president Alan Garcia returned to Peru yesterday to launch his re-election bid after 9 years of exile overshadowed by corruption charges and memories of economic chaos. Garcia arrived in Lima on a commercial flight from Bogota, which granted him asylum in 1992 when he fled into exile after a rooftop dash to dodge tanks sent to his home at night by his successor, the now disgraced ex-president Alberto Fujimori. Saluting a crowd cheering Alan, and flashing a thumbs-up sign, a dark-suited Garcia greeted supporters on the tarmac as if he were a visiting head of state. Thousands of flag-waving fans, cheering and blowing whistles, were waiting outside the heavily guarded airport to welcome him. The tall 51-year-old lawyer who governed Peru from 1985 to 1990 inspires love and loathing, but never indifference. His critics reveal him as a smooth-talking scoundrel who bankrupted the country and predict catastrophe if he returns to power. His fans praise his principles, saying his only crime was failing to realize the financial consequences of trying to help everyone at once and believe he is older and wiser.
Pero tiene lo suficiente como para dar alimento, educación y salud a todos los peruanos y a todas sus familias. Que hicimos la regionalización.
You are watching the evening news.
Tragedy hit American college basketball yesterday as a plane chartered by the Oklahoma State University crashed, killing all 10 on board. A commuter plane chartered for Oklahoma State University basketball team crashed near Denver yesterday, killing all 10 people on board, 2 crew and 8 passengers. The identities of the dead were not immediately known. Officials said the twin-engine turboprop King Air 200 crashed shortly after takeoff from Jefferson County Airport in the Denver outskirts on its way to Stillwater, Oklahoma. Light to moderate snow was falling. Local eyewitness Craig Ferguson described how the crash shook his house, and he could tell from the crash site that any survivors were unlikely. Federal Aviation Administration spokesman Jerry Snyder said the crash occurred about 15 miles southeast of Denver International Airport. Gary Johnson, director of the Stillwater Airport, told television station WKGN in Denver that the plane was one of 3 chartered by the university and that the other 2 aircraft had arrived safely.
A fresh tremor hits western India on Sunday as desperate rescue workers climb top mountains of debris and scream into crevices, hoping for some sign of life from thousands of people trapped by a devastating earthquake. People rushed out of their homes as they were woken up by the tremor around 6:45 local time in Ahmedabad, the capital of Gujarat state, where more than 400 people are known to have died. The epicenter of the Sunday's quake and its magnitude were not immediately known. Friday's quake, India's strongest in more than 50 years, struck on Republic Day, a national holiday. It shook the earth for more than 2,000 kilometers and hit hardest in Gujarat state. In the trading hub of Ahmedabad, a city of 4.5 million people, crowds of anxious survivors stood outside the General Hospital on Saturday, hoping for news of their missing relatives. As a makeshift ambulance arrived, the crowd thought for a moment that another survivor has been found. But it was not to be. The boy in the stretcher was already dead. But even he was rushed to the morgue. Such is the speed with which the dead are being recovered and processed for burial.
Rescue workers are struggling to free at least 30 children trapped in a school which collapsed in the commercial city of Ahmedabad during the recent earthquake. For some 30 high school children, a special trip to their school on India's Republic Day holiday turned into a nightmare from which very few escaped. They became trapped in a stairwell when they tried to escape a powerful earthquake which hit the western Indian state of Gujarat on Friday, killing some 8,000 people. All 4 floors of the Swami Narayanan school in Ahmedabad, the commercial capital of Gujarat, sandwiched into just one floor, a tangle of concrete and iron. Rescue workers digging through the rubble said they had pulled out only 4 children still alive out of some 30 or so students aged 16 to 18 that were believed to be trapped inside. Amid the constant buzz of diggers, cranes and pneumatic drills, mothers waited desperately hoping their children would still be pulled out alive.
Venezuelan forensic teams continued the arduous task of identifying the charred remains of 21 people killed when the plane they were traveling on slammed into a shanty town in the southern reaches of the country.
Venezuelan doctors used dental records and information on bone sizes yesterday to try to identify the charred remains of 24 people, mainly foreign tourists who died aboard a DC-3 plane that slammed into a slum in the southern town of Ciudad Bolivar. Almost 2 days after the air disaster, one of Venezuela's worst in recent years, only 4 of the carbonized corpses had been identified. The other remains were laid out in gray metal caskets in a room at the local airport. The 18 foreign tourists who died were 3 U.S. citizens, 3 Canadians, 5 Dutch, 4 Italians, 2 Hungarians, and 1 Austrian. The 6 Venezuelans on board the aging aircraft, including 3 crew members, were also killed when Rutaka Airlines Flight 224 plunged from the sky as it tried to return to Ciudad Bolivar Airport shortly after takeoff about 6 p.m. on Thursday.
You are watching the evening news.
Over 330 students of the Trisakti School of Transportation Management were graduated at the school's first graduation ceremony held yesterday in Jakarta.
School, which formerly provided only diploma-level education, began its university bachelor degree education in 1998. Along with the university graduates, 84 graduates of 4-year diploma and 368 graduates of 3-year diploma also graduated. Addressing the ceremony, school chairman Zaini Nur noted that in line with the rapid development of a wide range of forms of transportation, an increased number of skilled workers in the transportation sector will be needed. The availability of an adequate number of skilled workers in related fields, he said, would ensure the smooth running of various transportation services. The requirements cover from planning to implementation stages. Zaini Nur further emphasized the important role of higher education in developing skillful human resources in transportation management.
As you said, I am representing University Utara Malaysia from Sintok. I think this sort of cooperation is something that university look forward to establish from time to time. UUM, University Utara Malaysia, besides having Trisakti, we also establish collaboration with other universities. So this sort of collaboration, I think, will benefit both sides, not only UUM, but also the institution over here. So in the case of our collaboration with Trisakti, I think the first program is to provide opportunities for lecturers from Trisakti to pursue higher education from University Utara Malaysia.
And now continuing with reports on the ASEAN TV News Exchange. From MCS Singapore, we have news on a virtual studio, and we'll also have a story on Feng Shui from Malaysia.
Stay tuned for more world reports and sports right after the ASEAN Window segment.
Virtual technology has proven to be a very cost-effective option for TV stations, and for Channel News Asia recently, taking on the unreal helped it take home an international award for cost-effective engineering.
What you see on screen is sometimes more than what it really is. It's true because it's actually only blue behind the presenter. Virtual studio technology works by identifying the blue areas, then painting in a computer-created colorful set. It leaves the presenter untouched as long as he or she doesn't wear anything blue. So with just one physical set, an unlimited number of virtual sets can be created. No setup nor dismantlings needed, so changing sets between back-to-back programs is just a click away. The cost savings in labor and materials totals at least $500,000 a year, enough to recover the system's cost within 3 years. The cost-saving feat recently won the attention of the Commonwealth Broadcasting Association, which presented the Cost-Effective Engineering Award to MediaCorp. Besides saving money, engineers believe the technology also helps the channel compete internationally.
Channel News Asia can create a new look that can compete in terms of attracting viewers to watch the programs and creating this brand new fresh look, as compared to using a real set, because a virtual set can be more colorful and it can be more dynamic. You can have animations added in to create a degree of sophistication.
The degree to which technology can stretch reality is all up to the imagination. The camera can pan and zoom, while the perspective between presenter and virtual background adjusts in tandem. The set can also be made to look much bigger than its true physical size. However, there are still limitations, especially in realism. The more real-looking a virtual set is, the more computer processing time it needs. And that's something a live news program cannot afford to be slowed down by.
There are some restrictions, like we wouldn't be able to put a lot shadows and some of the reflections that people expect to see in glass. This type of properties that people see in the real world, these are missing in the virtual set. But as machines get quicker, we'll be able to actually simulate this much more realistically, and the computer actually will do the work for us.
While much of the virtual set is static for now, it won't be for long. An interactive element in the form of a virtual robot will be introduced soon on Singapore Tonight. Its presenter, seen here in test runs, said it'll be a challenge establishing a relationship with something she can't see.
We cannot really interact in any way. So what would be difficult would be even like eye contact. Making eye contact, my eye level has to be right, and I think there will be a lot of practice that will be needed. But what will be exciting or challenging, having this little fella in studio with me, would be balancing the serious and the playful elements.
A traditional Chinese Feng Shui expert has turned his dreams into a reality by creating a theme park dedicated to geomancy in Malaysia's ancient Malacca city.
In a hill north of Malaysia's historical Malacca port lies a sparkling new theme park dedicated to the traditional Chinese art of Feng Shui or geomancy. The resort, with its 100 scenes of giant Feng Shui symbols, is for visitors to tour as they listen to geomancy expert Lau Sun Hing speak about the art. Master Lau Sun Hing, who is always dressed in traditional Chinese costume, is touted as one of Malaysia's most famous Feng Shui experts and is highly sought after by the public. Feng Shui, which is literally means wind and water, seeks to optimize good fortune in life. Master Lau said he had a dream that the resort should be built in Malacca, and after some time he managed to buy the property and set up the Oyen Resort. The geomancer has set up a traditional Chinese village complete with walls, dragons, and wells with water that are thought to purify the soul.
You are watching the evening news.
Over 100 works of art by painters Partono Sumadi, T. Usman and Wahyu Dewanto are currently on display at Jakarta's World Trade Center. The four artists completed their art studies in Australia and are now members of the Association of Australian Universities Alumni, or ICAMA. Their works, which convey the call for more attention to the environment, also tend to enhance bilateral relations between Indonesia and Australia. The exhibition is being held until next Friday. Addressing the opening of the exhibition, the ambassador of Australia to Indonesia, Richard Smith, expressed his certainty over increasing bilateral relations between Indonesia and Australia. He also touched on the need to step up cooperation in the fields of art and culture. Similar views were also expressed by Indonesian Culture and Tourism Minister Igede Ardike.
Obviously, the artists have a feeling for nature, all of them.
The minister also conveyed the expectation that ICAMA and its members can play more significant roles in various other sectors.
It's all studied in Australia, not art, but other subjects, yet they have this common bond in art.
U.S. film director Martin Scorsese, U.S. movie star Leonardo DiCaprio, and Italian actress Verna Lisi on Saturday received a Rudolph Valentino Award at a star-studded ceremony in Rome. The 27th edition of the award, named after the legendary silent movie actor, was assigned to Scorsese for the category of Best Film Director, to DiCaprio for Best Actor, and to Lisi for Best Actress. The ceremony took place at the Italian capital's Hilton Hotel. DiCaprio attended the ceremony with his mother and grandmother, and noted by living in Rome for the past 5 months, had he begun to understand and appreciate his Italian roots. DiCaprio and Scorsese are filming Gangs of New York in Rome, the biggest production to take place at the Cinecittà Studios since the film of Cleopatra in 1962. The Miramax film is all the makings of a blockbuster with a cast that also includes Cameron Diaz. The award was created in 1972 and has been presented to people like Elizabeth Taylor, Bernardo Bertolucci, Sophia Loren, and Jeremiah Irons. This year's recipients were selected by a jury made up of 6 film critics from various countries.
In sports, we have tennis highlights from Australia and also reports on the NBA Midwest Division and the Spanish Primera Liga. Ruli Sukarno will bring us more on the details.
You are watching the evening news.
Andre Agassi won his 3rd Australian Open men's singles title in Melbourne today, notching up a straight sets win over Frenchman Arnaud Clément 6-4, 6-2, 6-2. Andre Agassi, defending his 2000s men's singles title, made his way to centre court with his opponent Arnaud Clément. The Frenchman, ranked 10 in the world, had shown great fighting spirit to make it into the finals, beating Britain's Gregory. And in the NBA, Tim Duncan had 33 points and 10 rebounds, while Derek Anderson scored 22 points and Terry Porter added a season-high 17 as the San Antonio Spurs beat the Utah Jazz 99-86 on Saturday. The top 2 teams in the Midwest Division squared off Saturday when the Utah Jazz played host to the San Antonio Spurs. The Jazz lead the Spurs by 1.5 games in the division, but David Robinson followed the rebound with a tremendous slam dunk as the Spurs took a 14-4 lead. Later in the opening quarter, San Antonio extended its lead to 14 points on a jump shot by Tim Duncan, who finished the game with 33 points. Early in the second stanza, the Jazz pulled within 6 points following a 3-pointers by forward Donville Marshall. But the Spurs went on a 15-6 scoring run and took a 54-39 advantage on a jump shot by Anderson. Utah converted a 3-pointer at the end of the half, but the Spurs took a 12-point lead into the break.
Shot ball handling. Here's Ryan Russell. Has the foot on the line. It's a 2-pointer. Keeping the clock.
From soccer, Barcelona stretched their unbeaten run in the Spanish Primera Liga to 15 games following their 0-0 draw with Malaga on Saturday. The result is a good news for league leaders Real Madrid, who have a great chance to extend their lead at the top of the standings when they play Valencia on Sunday.
Barcelona have put together a decent run of results lately and are beginning to put pressure on league leaders Real Madrid. They traveled to Malaga on Saturday to play the league's 8th-placed side. Despite trailing Barcelona by 9 points in the league, it was Malaga who looked the more professional outfit in the first half of the match. Barca goalkeeper Jose Manuel Reina handed the home side a great chance to open the scoring half an hour into the game with a botched clearance. Reina's kick hit defender Fran de Boer in the back and fell into the path of Dario Silva. But the Uruguayan striker didn't have time to measure his shot, and the ball went wide off the target, much to the relief of the Barca keeper. Frank de Boer forced the final save of the night with a quickly taken free kick, but Contreras was alert to the danger and pushed the ball over his crossbar to maintain his clean sheet. The side split the points, but Real Madrid would have been the side happiest with that result. The league leaders can extend their lead over Barca to 7 points when they visit Valencia on Sunday.
And that wraps up our sports news for tonight. And now we go over back to Anto and Tia.
And that also concludes tonight's report. Please tune in again tomorrow for more information and World Report.
Thanks for joining us again, and good night.
Good night.